All right, everybody, welcome back to the Kleen-Rite Radio podcast. I'm Fix It with Phil, and I'm here with my good buddy, Mark Tyndale. As always, Mark, how we doing today?
I'm doing great today, Phil. I'm excited about talking about preparation.
Yeah, today's episode is all about preparation and how it pays off to be prepared, right? Converting reactive firefighting to proactive maintenance. And really what that boils down to is getting in front of all the issues that you're constantly dealing with and turning them into weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, biannually processes that you have set in place so you can catch all of those issues before they actually happen. So as we go through this today, we'll break down how you can get yourself there, how you can get yourself out of the rut, and how to be prepared to do those things. Right?
And you come from bigger industry, and they call it predictive maintenance. And, whether it's a nuclear reactor or a nuclear sub, they're constantly doing maintenance so that they don't have to do repairs.
Yep. They are effectively checking, diagnosing, and fixing things before they need fixed per se. Right?
Monitoring and fixing before you need to make
a major repair.
Downtime repairs.
Yes, for sure. So let's jump right into it. And the biggest or the first thing is getting your mindset right. And that is making the shift. Making the shift or transitioning from the break, re-break, breakdown cycle that you get stuck in because you're constantly chasing that same thing over and over again and getting yourself into that predictive maintenance system or schedule, right? There's a couple ways in my head that you can get to that point. And that is you can break down your wash into certain systems and literally go through, it might not sound appealing, but shut some things down and literally go through and take care of all those issues all at one time and get it done, right? Now, doing that on your own by yourself, if you're a single operator, is going to take you more time, which is going to cost you more money over the long term. That's, something that we've already talked about. Or you can get a distributor to come in, get them to kind of lay eyes on everything and help you create a plan, get that taken care of to get to that point.
So step one is you need a plan, right? Yeah. You have to sit down, get a tablet and a pencil and actually make a plan. I know that for my operation, for years we operated without a calendar, and now we have a big calendar because I was telling you about this yesterday. If you just try to do it from memory, you think your pits were cleaned last September. Well, actually, it was probably 3 Septembers ago. Yep. And until you get a calendar and check those things off, especially when you get past one site, you have to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, I would hope that everybody's catching on to the repetitive theme through this series, and that is document, right? We are constantly saying about taking pictures, taking notes when you're on site, taking an honest look at everything and saying, these things need to be taken care of. Because like you just said, it is so easy to overlook that pump that has sounded bad for the last 3 months because you're used to hearing it now. And it's honestly, it's easy to forget.
Yeah. Scheduled maintenance, I think, is one of the hardest things for small operators to get ahead of. Really? They want to do reactive maintenance, and we're talking about predictive maintenance.
Yeah.
So let's I know we talked about this a little bit ahead of time. I think to keep it at a high level and to keep it simple, if you section the site, whether it's a tunnel car wash or a self-serve car wash or a gas station car wash, whatever it may be, focus on the large areas, and then that's when you get a pencil and paper out, and you're like, okay, what's everything on the outside I have to do?
Yep.
What's everything inside the bay I have to do? What's everything inside the back room I have to do? And then you break it down into what's my daily task, my weekly task, my monthly task, my my task every 6 months, and then my task every once a year.
Yeah. And, if you're new to the industry, it can be hard to understand what those things are. Reach out to a distributor, reach out to us here at Kleen-Rite, and we can help you out with that. We are, working on putting something up on the website to help operators understand what those tasks are. But, and I don't want to get off of that too quick and go into how everybody can help them, but we should be able to, as operators, sit down and say, how often do you change your cat oil? Right? If you don't know, look it up. If you can't find it on the website, call somebody.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Right. But breaking those things down, like Mark just said, as inside, outside, in the bay, and putting it on a calendar.
Yeah. And look, the resources out there are great, but sometimes they're not great. So the internet is, if it's a chat room, you'll get 10 different answers. If you want to know about your cat pump, just Google cat pump and it'll tell you. Now, you and I both have probably very similar systems, like with let's start with pumps. Yeah. People ask all the time, how often should I change my oil? How do I keep track of that? Well, personally, we do it twice a year. Yeah. All the cat pumps. So then, January and July, all the cat pump, whether it was a 3535 or it was a self-serve bay, it's done. Yep. And you just do all of them at one time, and you can check that off on your calendar checklist for your biannual work PM service, right? And it's done. That's a simple one, right? That's the one everybody thinks of. Let's talk about all the things that they don't think of. Okay, so, I want to read you. I want to read you something real quick. Yeah, right? Hit me. So the how many folks walk into their equipment room and it's dry all the time? None. Some, very few, like that top 10%, right? Yeah. And I just did a quick search last night, and the ChatGPT or Gemini are great resources for this. And I asked it what a pinhole leak comes out to in a year. Now you see that dribble, and I used to have service techs and some family members say, well, that's okay for now. And you see a little leak underneath a Stay Right pump, and they're like, well, that's okay. It's a car wash. And then it's a car wash. It's supposed to be wet. And then, I walk in there 5-6 months later, and I'm like, oh, it's still dribbling. Yeah. That's okay. And I don't want to point fingers at anybody, but listen to this data. So a pinhole leak, which is a 1/32 leak. Okay. You can lose 264 gallons a day of water. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for water and you're paying for sewer on that number. Okay. Per month, that can equal up to 7,920 gallons. Now the leaks get bigger, right? So a small leak is considered 1/16. That's a pretty big leak, actually, a 1/16 leak. You should notice it. Going up to a large leak, which I would say if you have a large leak and you haven't fixed it, you probably shouldn't be in the car wash business. But that can be up to 456,000 gallons a month. Yeah, that's a lot of water, right? Yeah, and if you're not noticing that on your bill, well, and I being in the tunnel space for a while, you can actually like the conveyor wash down solenoids that would come off the reclaim. Sometimes people wouldn't notice that they're on fresh water because they use reclaim to do a pit wash. Yeah. Well, if you're not paying attention to that conveyor pit wash solenoid, your meter's running, and that's more than a 1/4 inch. That's like a 3/4 inch. Oh yeah. So there's a lot of aha moments in different types of car washes. If you have a valve that's open, let's say another great example is weeps that run in the summer because people don't want to repair or they haven't noticed that that small dribble's still coming out. That small dribble's coming out. Yeah, because you have a solenoid hung up or something like that. But that's a great example as we transition right from your leak scenario into the weep scenario.
that is something that we should be picking up on pretty quickly, right? Because if you're not on a weekly basis going through the bays and checking all the functions that your customers are paying you for, when you pull that gun out and it's summer and there's water still coming out of it, guys, we have an issue, right?
Yeah.
And we need to look into that.
The other interesting one is I asked Gemini how much wasted electrical energy happens with a small air leak, and it was a lot, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, if that compressor is cycling all day long
and all night,
and sometimes because it'll cycle more often if you don't drain them, right? Because your 80-gallon tank is really only a 40-gallon tank. The energy loss is real dollars.
Yeah,
real dollars.
And when you compound the compressor leak with the water leak, we're losing a lot of money for no reason because we're not taking the time to walk through and do these preventative maintenance things. So, let's...
Can I do one more? And then we'll go into the
Go ahead.
All right. The other one, and I think it's so overlooked, is the changing, just in the self-serve, right? Number 6 nozzle. If you let it go for a year.
Yeah.
After a year, it's a 7 nozzle. After 2 years, it's an 8 nozzle, right? And the water volume, I don't know what the incremental actual calculate, but it's a lot of water.
Yeah.
That you're using that you don't have to.
And just based on that leak data at a 16th hole, right? However many gallons that was a month, you can already tell that when you go from a 6 to a 7 to an 8 for 2 years for not wanting to spend a little bit of money to change those gun tips out, you're already spending that down the drain with the water.
Yeah, actually, your wasted water is 0.5 gallons for every minute when you go from a 3.5 gallon per minute nozzle to a 4 gallon per minute nozzle.
And that is substantial, right? So just some of these blinding facts about leaks, small water leaks, air leaks, giving you energy consumption through your compressor, right? There's a little bit of shock value here, right? Actually, there's a lot of shock value here, and hopefully that can help everybody understand why we are doing a series on being prepared and being, operations 101. Like, these are things that should be done on a routine basis, right? So if you're not testing your functions, if you're not taking time to go through your equipment room and see if there's these leaks, if your floors are wet and you're not looking into why they're wet, we are in a firefighting status, right? Because you are your brain is systematically overlooking those things that should be catching your attention because you're too busy trying to keep things running. And that's going to bring us right back to, can we fix everything to a point where we can maintain it? Or do we need to look at replacing things so that we can then maintain it? Equipment is not cheap, right? Let's not say that equipment is cheap, but it's not detrimental to the point where you're literally putting money down the drain instead of helping yourself out by either having someone come in or you sitting down and making the list of things that need done right now, spending the money on it, getting it done, or doing yourself an even bigger favor. And if your equipment's that old and you're chasing that many things, replacing it and then starting out fresh with a brand new PM.
Yeah, if you have 27 brass fittings all tied together for one solenoid assembly, maybe it's time to rethink your process. Yeah. So really what we're talking about is the predictive example is taking a rainy Monday and just changing all your tips out on your guns once a year, rather than that Saturday where you're out there everybody's there, use a sunny Saturday. So let's just fireball, the outside items, the backroom items, and then the bay items. Let's start with the outside, right? Because it's not all equipment on the outside.
First thing that comes to my mind is vacuums.
Oh my gosh, I have a whole list on vacuums, right?
Right?
So how many people, when you go put a motor in a vacuum, just change one motor to get it running. You don't check the screens if you have a 3-motor vac.
Or don't change the gasket.
Or don't change the gasket. Door gaskets too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm just one of those guys. I mean, vac motors are a lot more expensive than when I started, but I know that if I change, if I'm changing 1 or 2 motors in a 3-motor vac, just change them all, change all the gaskets at the same time.
Yep.
That vacuum, you put it on your list. That vacuum's probably good for a year or more.
Oh yeah,
unless something crazy happens.
Yeah, and tracking that, right?
Yeah.
Writing that, whether it's a calendar that's hanging in the equipment room, or you want to make a spreadsheet or a Google sheet that you can keep track of those things and watch that.
A log, just a log.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, the other thing, vacuums are probably one of the bigger things outside other than pay stations, but, hoses and nozzles. What I like to do is go through them once a year, and, those half moon claws, just change them all.
Yeah, honestly, I think we're almost at bare minimum, we're biannual and changing those claws out, if not quarterly. If they're worn, I don't want to use it. Your customer doesn't want to use it. But the one thing, and we kind of talked about this yesterday, and you had brought it up, was the bags on the inside, right? When was the last time you guys actually took the bags out of your vacuum?
Or use the brush that comes with them to brush the bags out. Instead of just emptying the bin and throwing in the trash. I mean, old schoolers used to take them. They didn't take them home to wash them. They took them to laundromat to wash them, right? But honestly, I mean, bags are pretty inexpensive. You can just buy new bags once a year and have peace of mind.
Yeah, and then along with on the vacuum itself, whether if you're taking bills or if you have a swiper on there, and this can translate over into the bay, running a bill acceptor cleaner in and out of that acceptor can go a very, very long way.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I know that, if I went to any car wash site locally here, I could probably find a vacuum or a bay where all the LEDs don't show up on the timer, and it might say, you think it's supposed to say $5, but it's like a weird digit, and then not a full zero.
Yeah.
Like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
Your customer has to see the price, and they have to see the time.
They need to know what they're getting for what they're spending.
Yeah. So get it rebuilt, or get it swapped out, or get it replaced.
Yeah. And while you're there, after you do all these things, you should be turning the vacuum on and checking the suction when you're done.
Absolutely.
Right?
And they actually make a suction tool that professional car washers use, like a vacuum gauge to make sure that vacuum is giving people what they paid for.
Right.
What else about vacuums, Phil? I mean, we have a lot of people with lighted domes.
Checking your light
bulbs. Go there
bulbs.
at night.
Yeah.
Make sure your lighted domes are actually lighted. It makes it.
I mean, even just pulling the dome off
and cleaning the inside of it,
right? You can buy a leaf blower or whatever, like drag an air hose out there. If it's an air vac, you got one right on it, and just blow all that stuff off. Everything that's around there, keep it clean, keep the dust from building up on it. Guys, that dust is what makes everything overheat and makes it go out faster, right? So if we can PM and keep that stuff clean, we might be able to keep it running longer.
How many people take their domes off once a year and wipe them out with a wet cloth? Or
we actually use Armor All Tire Shine on the outside twice a year on all of our domes to just give them that luster again.
Fantastic. That is a great tip.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know we clean the insides of them. And if you Armor All them, they'll look bright and fresh for a long, long time.
Yep.
So we talked about vac hoses, the door bin gaskets. A lot of people that they're flattened out.
The classic putting a bolt in
to tighten it.
The latch so that it gets tight. Guys, there are latches out there. You can replace them. They're on with rivets, a gasket. Like, you can get it back to the way that it's supposed to be easily, instead of using a bolt off of the ground. Yeah.
So what else do we have outside? We have vendors. We have pay stations.
Air machines. You have a fragrance machine. All of those things require attention.
Yeah. In addition to the trash cans, I just put all new bollard covers on my bollards rather than painting them to get a nice fresh look. I mean, it was probably a little overdue, but little things like that can make a big difference.
And while you're standing at that vac pay station or all those areas and you're PMing that item, right? Your eyes are also looking over your building and you're understanding, hey, is my roof peeling up or is the siding starting to come off? Do I need to look at, getting my gutters fixed? So there's a lot that goes into it that you don't even, that most people don't recognize is actually happening when you're taking the time to do those things as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, on the outside, it's amazing. Owners are probably a little bit better at this than techs. Most, the proud owners.
Yeah.
They'll look at the landscaping, they'll look at the gutters, they'll look at the decals on the vacuums and say, wow, this vacuum could use a new.
It's tired.
It's tired.
Yeah.
You can make a vacuum look brand new. And it could be.
I think I have a video on that already.
I think Fix It Phil has videos on everything. So that's the outside. Let's. The one thing we probably skipped was the pay station. I mean, make sure your printers are working. People do want a receipt, especially business people. Same thing with bill acceptors. We clean them.
Wiping the front of that thing down.
Oh my gosh!
If you're one of the owners that has an actual digital screen, like that thing should be clean as your TV in your house, right?
Yeah.
If you're giving out codes or if you have a QR scanner or anything like that, like those things need wiped down.
If
that
you have
pay station needs wiped down.
If you have a touch screen like I do, and you have a bunch of touch frees and the doors are open, you can get a crust on those touchscreens weekly. All it takes is a little Windex and just wipe it down and wow.
And if you do it weekly, you never get the buildup and you never have to spend an immense amount of time trying to clean all that off.
Yeah, doors. Right? I mean, overhead doors. How many people have they'll clean their bay and then the door's up while they're cleaning, and then they put the door down. They forgot to clean their door.
Yeah.
Which, if you clean the vinyl doors, they look brand new after you clean them. The polycarbonates can get a little hazy even after you clean them a couple times. But
it doesn't mean that you shouldn't clean it.
Right.
Right.
Still clean
just because it's a little hazy doesn't mean you shouldn't clean it, because people notice that.
And what's the one thing when you pull up to an IBA, the first thing people look at before the pay station is your menu sign. Wipe down your menu sign. Get the pollen off of it. Get the dust off of it.
Get the cobwebs out of it.
Check the lights inside of it.
Yeah.
Make sure
all of them working.
Make sure all the backlights are working.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much stuff you can do. So
right there, right? That should be one section of your PM preventative maintenance, predictive maintenance checklist, right? Those items should be on a sheet and you can label it outside, right? And that's something that you should look at having set up that you're going to go through, whether it's monthly, biannually, annually, lay that out, lay a plan out with all of those things and complete that list. So let's move into, we did the outside scenario. Let's move into the bay and basically everything that we've said about vacs and pay stations and all that translates right into the bay. The only thing we need to add on to that is and actually this goes with vacuums and pay stations. Do all your payment options work, right?
Yeah.
You should be slugging a quarter in, making sure that you're getting a quarter's value for that. You should be slugging a 1, a 5, a 10, and a 20 every so often, just to make sure that is actually registering what it's supposed to be registering.
And while the money's in there, go through every function. Like when we go see a site, we go through every function. Start with the rotary switch. Make sure it's not moving.
Yep.
Because if a rotary switch is moving a little bit now, it's going to move a lot more in a couple weeks, right? Yep. The knobs, the nut on the back needs tightened, or the knob is wearing out, or the set screw's not tight. I mean, we see it all. Yep. You can prevent a Saturday problem, with a little bit of time on a Thursday, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Functions, right? Make sure your chemicals coming out the way you want it.
And it's not. And I can be guilty of this sometimes, and I'm pretty sure that everybody can probably fess up to being guilty of it. But it's not a turn it on 2 seconds, oh, it starts to come out, that works, turn it on to the next one, right? Like, you should be giving it some time to run to make sure that that consistency is there, and that when you're actually using that function in that bay, that it consistently works the entire time you have it on.
Right. So
not just for 2 to 5 seconds.
You're a little taller than me, just a little bit.
Just a tiny
but
bit.
Like when you're in the bay, look up, right?
Yeah.
If that foam brush hose, like I use blue ones.
Mm-hmm.
If that foam brush hose is like an off-white up by the fitting, change the foam brush hose. It's probably time.
Yeah. It's
right?
going to pop.
It's going to pop. Look at on the high pressure hose, make sure there's no wear points.
Yeah, if you have 360 booms, let's see if that boom swivel's leaking, right? This is your time while you're checking all those things and you're giving them time to run. Like you're saying, you should be looking around and making sure that you don't have any of these drips.
Oh,
right?
100%. And then I don't know how many times I go to a car wash. If they have 4 bays, I can bet you 80% of the time there's one wand holder that has bolts out of it.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just kind of hanging off, even at good car washes.
Yep.
Right. So, let's just keep an eye on that stuff and wiping down those bay meters, keeps your decals fresh and your timer display fresh. So
I mean, as silly as it sounds, we actually use the Swell stainless steel cleaner on the coin boxes and on our foamy brush buckets, just to keep them looking new.
I love
right?
that.
If you wipe them down with that stuff and you keep that stainless shiny, you won't have to replace it as often to keep it looking new.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And that's that preventative maintenance.
Yeah. And when I go to a site and I see, 3 or 4 nozzles on a foam brush handle instead of just one, you know what's going on there. Or there's nothing worse than a customer using a foam brush and the swivel's leaking right at the handle.
All over them. They're getting soap on their clothes.
Yep.
Right?
That's a bad experience.
So now we're done with the bay, right?
Yeah, I would say we're done with the bay.
Covered most of that, right? Let's move into the equipment.
One more thing in the bay, right?
Hit me.
How many people keep a stick? Now, I have big pits, right? Some people have the little 2x3 boxes. Some people have nothing, just a little drain.
Yep.
I have 1,000-gallon tanks. I mean, I have a schedule for pit cleaning, right? But we still keep a stick, right? And you just drop it down into the pit. You can tell how much silt is at the bottom of the pit. If I'm going into winter or pollen season, I don't want more than 6 or 8 inches in that pit because
it's going to build up quick.
Our standpipes go down. We have our standpipes down so that most of the tank is water, and we only want to collect, no more than like 18 inches or 24 inches of silt because the deeper the silt gets, the harder it gets.
Yep.
And the harder it gets to suck it. And the more expensive it is when my tank truck comes out to pump it off.
Hey, I had to break all that up. It's going to take me multiple trips because there's so much water in it this time and X, Y, and Z. Yeah, absolutely. And that is something that has to be done.
Oh,
it has to be done.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Now I'll let you move to the back room.
All right. So we're moving into the back room. Depending on what all you have going on, what machines you have, if you have IBAs, rollovers, if you have, if you're running a tunnel, if you're running just self-serve, greasing motors, draining the liquid out of an air compressor, right? Like we could stand here and name off a million things.
Going back outside before we go inside, we started a new thing this year about getting spider webs off the lights and cleaning your light shields.
Oh, yeah.
Now we can go back inside. Sorry.
Had to add that in.
I had to add that in. Yeah.
So, as you're in that room, the things that we overlook is, are we overlooking the fluid level in an air compressor? That's costing you money.
Is your backflow dripping?
Yeah. Is your backflow preventer dripping all over the floor? We already dove into leaks everywhere. Hydrominders. When was the last time you maintained your hydrominder?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
What's the tip look like? Is it clogged up?
Is it 10 years old?
Is it 10 years old? We change foot valves on a biannual basis, whether they need it or not. Every single chemical container gets a new foot valve put in it because I want to know that it works.
That's smart business.
Right? Greasing all your electric motors. Like if you have one equipment room, that should be a checklist item that all of them get done at one time so that you know that it's done. You can check it off.
You probably check your belts and you grease your motors at the same time.
I typically do. Yes, I typically do. And, as we jump into belts, if the inside belt
this was a good one I saw on the internet.
You brought it up and it has like resonated with me because I didn't realize that this was like a mindset. But if the inside belt is ripped up, you don't just change the inside belt. You change both belts, you retension everything, and then you know that it's good.
Right.
Right? I mean,
and if you haven't changed belts or you just bought a car wash and you're moving into it and you have 4 bays, probably a good idea to change all the belts, readjust, your tension, and know that that's not something you're going to get a call on.
Yep.
Because if you're buying a car wash, I guarantee that guy didn't say, you know what? I'm selling this car wash. I think I'll change all the belts for this guy just so he has no problems.
I'm going to go through and make sure everything is tip top for him. Yeah.
He probably put the good belts in the back of his truck before settlement.
And he's selling them on
eBay.
But I mean, we can stand here and we can joke around about it. And it is, I mean, it can be comical, but it can make or break somebody's business, or it can make or break how you operate your life as a car wash operator.
If you have an auto drain on your air compressor, make sure it's auto draining by manually draining it once a while.
And make sure that drain isn't clogged up.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Just because you put an implement in place to take care of that for you doesn't mean that it doesn't need maintained.
And your water systems, I mean, we've spent a lot of time here internally training people on, okay, check your water softener. Make sure your water's actually soft, because there is no compromise to an RO system if your water softener is not working. It doesn't care. Your membranes are going to fail.
Yeah.
If your water softener is not giving it soft water.
And if your softener, your carbon filter, if you have that set up to auto flush at nighttime, you unfortunately might need to go in there overnight one night and just make sure that that's actually happening the way that it's supposed to happen. Or like Mark said, you grab that rainy Monday or whatever rainy day that is. And when you go in there to start doing some PM work or some catch-up work, right? Flush those bad boys and watch it happen. Listen to it happen.
We have a great resource here that Nate's going to put up on spot-free RO maintenance, the things to look for. You start with your TDS and work backwards.
Yeah.
Check your water softness or hardness and your TDS. And you should be down in that 2, 3, 4 parts per million on your RO.
Yeah.
How many people don't even know what their parts per million is in their RO?
Because they're not checking it. They put it in and they think,
it'll work forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they
these
don't.
things are great forever.
Yeah.
And so on the RO thing, like looking at pressures, what's your inlet pressure? What's your pressure after the softener? What's your pressure after the carbon filter? What's it after the 5 micron filter?
Yeah. Everybody should have a 5 micron filter on the shelf. No questions asked. No questions asked. I mean, they might not have RO membranes 4x40s on the shelf. They might.
Which is fair.
But you should always have a big blue $15 filter on there. Like you said, as soon as there's a 5-pound differential, change the filter. It's gone.
Change it, not check it. Change it.
Yeah.
As soon as you open that thing up, you should be pulling that one out, throwing it away, and putting a new one in.
Yep. And if your car wash is old, you might as well get an O-ring on there, because once you spin that thing back on there, it's probably going to leak. You talked about hydrominders. Some guys are using injectors. Injectors will clog.
Yeah.
Big
time.
Big time, right?
Big time. But you can do preventative maintenance on those. You can pull that draw tube off. You can pull that tip out and put a new tip in. You can make sure that ball check in there is actually working the way that it's supposed to be working. All of those types of things. And it really doesn't take that much time if you can get yourself into predictive, preventative maintenance instead of firefighting all the time.
Yeah. It takes time. And a lot of our listeners are, single site operators or 2-site operators that have a job, right? And they might be depending on somebody to do this for them or think that somebody's doing it for them. That's why you need to have a written plan, because if you have that written plan, you can give that to somebody and say, did you do all this stuff that I'm paying you to do?
Absolutely.
Or am I paying you more because you want it to fail so you can go back out and just keep,
get the
whether you're a third party guy or an in-house guy. If you're an in-house guy, the checklist should be, you do this as part of your job.
Should be wiped clean all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's all of that is going to take us into stocking smart, right?
Yeah.
We're here, we're close to the mothership. It's kind of easy to get parts, but I still stock. Out at the wash, I probably, at one of our washes that's the closest to the warehouse, I probably have 10 vac motors.
Yeah.
Right? I have the 5-micron filters sitting there waiting. I have extra hydrominder tips. I have the injector tips. I have all that stuff on the shelf sitting, waiting for the rainy day that it's, hey, let's get this stuff done today. When I'm rallying with the boys and we're going to get some work done. Or if it's time to go in and do some preventative maintenance, change that 5-micron out, I can get that changed out, check it off the list, and reorder it and have it come back in.
Yeah. Safety stock is key.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the same way. We have, anytime if you have an older site, you can clean up that messy brass thing that you have going on, whether it's a manifold that you built yourself, right? Clean that stuff up with some new brass that, it's not all corroded. It's hard because, old school guys don't want to throw anything out, but everybody has that bucket of brass. I don't want to pay my service guy 45 minutes to take a manifold apart when he can pull a brand new reducer out of it. It saves me money by say, look, I know you like to save things, but I'm putting this in our brass bucket, our recycle bucket, and you're going to use a new fitting next time you fix this. Same thing with foamers. Yeah. I mean, look, foamers, guys, are not real expensive. No. You don't change them every year.
If you're going to do some maintenance on them,
put a new foamer in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that should be the maintenance, right? And, on the line of the brass fittings and whatnot, it's 3 to 4 wraps of tape to make that tight, right? If you guys are using half a roll of tape to put a fitting back in to get it tight, it's time to put some new fittings in. Yeah. Right. And that is something I think that there might be a good amount of operators that kind of overlook, but you should have a little bit of every flavor sitting around on the shelf for that moment of, hey, I didn't plan for that to happen, but I have some fittings that I can make that work for right now.
We give all our guys one of those little Milwaukee, bins with all assortment of push locks, assortment of brass, the foot valves, the tape, everything they need, because when you go to Home Depot or you go to Lowe's for one part, if you're paying somebody, you're paying them to shop, right?
You're not only paying more for the part, you're paying for the guy to drive there.
Good luck if they have it.
Yeah. And it might be 2-3 different places to find that one part, whereas you could have just stocked smart, had it on site, had it in your guy's truck, whatever that looks like. And he could have been prepared to take care
that mode of operation is why you go into a lot of car washes like you and I do. And you see brass going into steel, going back into stainless. Oh. Let's keep our metals somewhat the same.
Yeah. Corrosion is a real thing.
It is.
All right. So let's talk about the preparedness checklist, right? And what that looks like. And I really think it is exactly what we just, we're just going to reiterate the few bullet points that we just talked about. Understanding what it takes to run and operate a car wash. Shifting your mindset from fighting fires to preventative, predictive maintenance, creating that list, planning that out, working that plan, whether it's you doing it or you hiring someone in to do that. And then on the back end of that is stocking your site, to be able to get that work done when you have it planned to get done, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than saying today's the day that we're doing this, and you go in and you're like, oh, I need X, Y, and Z to get that done. When you're walking in to get like some preventative maintenance done or some work done, nothing feels better than being prepared, having all those parts, getting it done, and then reordering those parts for the next time.
Yeah. Yeah. And we sell, even in the tunnel side, I mean, we sell a lot of roller and chain.
Mhm.
I mean, if let's say you're redoing your tunnel, right?
Yeah.
But you're like, my chain's pretty good. All right, good time to pull new chain, get new rollers in,
You're
check
already
everything,
shut down.
get a new sprocket, get a new pusher, cylinder, whatever it takes, just to have that peace of mind that with all this upper equipment,
Mhm.
you're not going to have a breakdown on the lower equipment.
Yep. Agreed. 100%.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we hope that helped. We hope that kind of gets you guys thinking about how to get out of that fight or flight into being prepared for what's ahead every year, making that checklist, making that PM list, and actually attacking that plan to keep your site where you want it to be.
And I think we're going to work on a resource, maybe that somewhere on the website you can click, and we're going to come up with a high level list that people can use as a framework to create their own list.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, because it can be daunting to sit down and try to create that entire thing by yourself.
100%.
So, all right, everybody. We want to thank you for being with us today. If you could please like, comment, subscribe, rate it on your favorite platform that you're watching this on. It really helps us out, and it really helps promote the podcast. Also, Kleen-Rite Radio at Kleen-Rite.com is our email address. Share your stories, testimonials, anything you guys got going on at the washes. We got some fun episodes coming up, and we might pick your story to go into it.
And we have to thank our great sponsor, Solve Industrial, great partner of Kleen-Rite's. Thank you for sponsoring this series, and we're going to catch you next time.
Absolutely.